Thank you for tuning in to the Red Clinic Podcast. I'm Dr. Schwalen. I'm a licensed psychologist and expert in the treatment of eating disorders. Today, I have a wonderful guest with me, Melissa Bloom, registered dietitian, certified eating disorder registered dietitian as well, and one of our most valued team members in the Red Clinic. So we're excited you're here today.
I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having.
We're going to take a few minutes today and talk to our audience about meal plans.
Awesome.
Okay. So one of the things I like to just help families and loved ones and even individuals with eating disorders understand is that in eating disorder treatment, we really want to focus on food kind of as medicine, okay, in the beginning when we're trying to like help the body heal and even like adjust the way people even think about it, because it's not really something you can eliminate from your life. It is something that can really help you feel better. It can help heal your insides if there's, some difficulties happening because of the eating disorder. And to help people understand like just what is the role of a dietitian, I mean, it's a pretty broad role in the treatment of eating disorders, and it's also really specific. It's weird. Like they do a lot and then they do very specific things as well. Mm-hmm. But they're so necessary. And I like to tell people, I want you to think of your dietitian as the person who writes your prescription, right? If we're thinking about food as medicine, they can really help with that prescription part of it.
Absolutely.
And so meal plan is a huge part of treatment.
Yes.
Normalized eating is another thing that we try to move towards. Mm-hmm. And, in eating disorder treatment, we like to define normalized eating as whatever's normal for you.
Yes.
Right? So if you're a family who's on the go all the time and you eat on the go, the dietitian's going to take that into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a family that eats a lot of fast food, for example, dietitian's definitely going to take that into consideration and write that into a meal plan.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to actually just stop talking for a few minutes because I would love it if you could give the audience an idea of what does a meal plan look like?
Yeah.
And how do you provide it to your clients?
Absolutely. So I just want to preface with the fact that all meal plans are made individually. I can't stress that enough because I think that a lot of the times people believe that, my registered dietitian's just going to give me a generalized meal plan. How do I know that that meets my needs? That's what we do. So you can trust us in that. It is individualized to you and can be flexible and can be changed. So I just want to preface that. When we're writing meal plans for recovery, it really depends upon where someone is at in their stage of recovery and what they struggle with. So determining that and building an individualized plan off of that is something that we start with. What I do is typically create a PDF and a file form of a guideline, a meal plan, a roadmap, something that you can follow for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks in between that is appropriate for your body. So whether that looks like food groups, aka some of you may be familiar with this language, exchanges, if you're from higher level of care, and or entrees and sides. Depending upon what's best for your treatment, we can meet your nutritional needs in a lot of different forms and fashions. So building that, crafting that, even from a more detailed example, such, for example, if we were to say, hey, let's have a fruit, a grain, a protein, a fat, and a dairy for breakfast. Some of you are going to be like, what? What does that even look like? So providing specific examples with foods that you like and can tolerate at this point in your treatment, along with challenging foods or trigger foods, that can be very beneficial for someone receiving a meal plan.
So if a client's having trouble like imagining, okay, I got to hit all 5 food groups during breakfast, I don't know how to do that, you would actually provide examples of foods they could eat or meals they could have at breakfast time to meet those requirements.
Yes, and we would actually do a lot of that in session together. So that we as registered dietitians can help empower you to then create meal plan examples and options for yourself too. Okay.
So let's go to that level. Could you provide some examples of what, what you might, let's say a client is presenting, I would say, like 3 months after stepping down from like an IOP program. They have anorexia. They've been doing really well with making meal plan. Yet they are still really struggling with challenging themselves and going out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
How many times, I guess, a week would you want them to eat foods that are more difficult for them? And when would you allow them to kind of just do what's comfortable for them? And then what would that look like?
Yeah. So again, it looks from an individual perspective. However, food exposures or challenging foods can happen in office. They can happen 3 times a week. Whatever is prescribed at a frequency that challenges the eating disorder and continues to allow you to meet your nutritional needs with comfortable foods.
So when you say like in office, like with you,
Yeah.
doing that, eating food with you,
Yes.
in a session.
It's fun.
All right.
Yeah. And it's very supportive and very helpful. It may be really intimidating at first, right? Because it can be scary eating in front of others, especially a dietitian, for some reason. And so really helping empower you to be able to consume that food with support, and then in your home, maybe with support too, or maybe not. So I think we hear a common theme. It goes in stages. Another thing that we really work to challenge with meals plans specifically was someone who has gone to higher level of care, who has done really well with the exchange system, with food groups and portion sizes. And that may not be so great for them in challenging the flexibility that the anorexia may hold onto food itself. So really morphing into a plan that may be more like entree sides, something that allows for a little bit more flexibility while meeting your nutritional needs, is also something that I feel is very vital in transitioning meal plans if that's appropriate for that particular person.
So like rather than thinking in food groups and measuring out portions, which is more what like exchanges would be.
Right.
You're wanting to transition a client to like just eyeball a plate of food.
Yes.
And understand, you can have an entree, a couple sides, and just an average amount of food on your plate.
Correct.
That's more normal functioning.
Yes.
Okay.
So a lot of times what will happen is with the exchange system, with eating disorders, is the eating disorder will then try to control. That's the eating disorder hanging on. I can't have any more than 1 protein at breakfast. I can't have any more than 2 grains at lunch. But what if you want more? What if your body is saying, I have the opportunity to have more. I really want more fries, or I really want more rice or eggs. And so having something that helps enable that decision-making process through a bit more of a flexible plan is something that I feel, we do work on, but I feel like is very important. Yeah.
Okay. I got one last question.
Yeah.
Because you brought up the fact that the eating disorder can try to manipulate the meal plan, right? And so, especially with exchanges, we can see that, the eating disorder might say, well, I have to stick to just 2 grains. Even if I feel like I want more, I'm not going to allow that because it's not in my meal plan, right? And so what happens when, this is for parents or loved ones who are trying to support someone who has an eating disorder in their recovery? What happens if you put some examples on the meal plan? So for breakfast, you can have, toast and eggs and a cup of fruit and a glass of milk, right? Or another example of that would be some pancakes with bacon and whatever, right? I'm not a dietitian. So now if the family runs out of those items and they're not able to make that meal that you've written on the meal plan, or even the alternative that you've given as an example, what is the client supposed to do?
That is the perfect time to practice flexibility in eating. With meal planning and what you do learn in nutrition sessions with a registered dietitian through recovery is that foods provide similar nutrients, different types of foods. And so learning, if I have a piece of toast or if I have a bowl of oatmeal, is there something else that I could have that would be available for me that would count as that food group if you're following the exchange meal plan? So being flexible with that, I think that's a natural, real life situation that happens in outpatient treatment that is going to happen at some point in time, and we have to learn how to manage that. So practicing your flexibility.
Okay. Now, what if you're not following the exchanges meal plan?
Yeah.
Okay. You're helping a client just be a little bit more intuitive. Maybe they're a little bit more advanced in their recovery process and they're truly ready for something like that. Yeah. You would say at breakfast, you need an entree and sides. And then it's just up to them at that point, whatever they eat.
So entrees and, okay, we could have entree in one side, entree in two side. You can have examples for that, like what is an appropriate entree? Okay. What would even be considered an entree? What would even be considered a side? And a lot of people don't even know that. Is an omelet an entree? Is an omelet my meal? What is this supposed to look like for me in my body? Okay. So really teaching someone that in nutrition sessions and feeling comfortable of, okay, so I can trust, it's a big word with registered dietitians in eating disorder recovery. I can trust the dietitian to help me explore my nutritional needs. They know what I do need. They can help empower me to also know what I do need and trust that too.
So in the session, you're building that roadmap together.
Yes.
You're talking about it. You're providing education. You're giving examples. But ultimately, you want them to be able to get to the point eventually where they know what appropriate entree and a couple sides would look like at breakfast.
Absolutely.
Okay, but it's a process.
It is a process.
And you walk them through it.
Yes.
And it takes like many, many sessions to get there.
It does.
Okay.
It is not easy. Like I had mentioned before, it's a skill set in a lot of ways, but then we have an eating disorder on top of that that's really discouraging any kind of trust with anyone else, but then also discouraging trust with yourself. And we're trying to move that trust away from the eating disorder to yourself.
Right, and to your team.
Yep, exactly.
Right. Is there anything else that you think our audience should know about their meal plan and how it comes about?
I think that meal plans, the word can be kind of scary for a lot of people in eating disorder recovery. And so knowing that we work with you on an individual standpoint and help you through the stage that you're in your recovery. Even if you are terrified, even if you are scared of following something or letting go of part of that, the eating disorder, we're here to help navigate that for you and with you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you come back soon.
I will.
And there you have it. That's our Red Clinic podcast for today. We can't wait to see you again next week.